Hey, thanks for joining me. Scott Ryan here. I apologize in advance for taking the mystery out of the 2016 elections, if there are actual elections. Not that they would be legitimate, but I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen. It's going to come down to three people. It's going to come down to Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and Rand Paul representing the conservatives. And Marco Rubio is the Rhino establishment candidate. Jeb Bush is a decoy. He's simply a straw man. He's there to take the criticism, to deflect it away from Rubio, because a Jeb Bush candidacy would be absolutely absurd and make no sense from any standpoint. But that would allow Rubio to really deflect a meticulous due diligence by the media and justify the media and not getting too in-depth about his record and his positions. Most recently, the egregious vote for Brennan, to confirm Brennan. Jeb Bush has no intention of winning. That's what it's going to come down to. And while they prop up Rubio, they're going to Rove and Fox News, once again, as they did last election and the election before that, systematically assassinate the character of every conservative in this primary race until their guy's standing. Karl Rove, the ignoble traitor that he is going to lie. Once again, he's going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, $250 million he spent last election. He's going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to destroy Rand Paul, and Fox will help him, and every other conservative in the race. And then Jeb Bush will either bow out or maybe stay in to the end. But they're going to get Rubio in there because most of the nation, aside from Florida, and Florida amongst conservative circles, it was pretty much well known that Marco Rubio is not really a conservative. He was a quote-unquote Tea Party candidate. He's a poser, just like he participated in the Rand Paul filibuster, but then he went in and confirmed Brennan. He's exploiting the Tea Party. But Floridians know, conservative Floridians know, that it was a street fight here. It was a brawl. Before Rubio won the nomination, he was up against the legitimate conservative, Bob Smith. I believe he was a experienced senator from New Hampshire that relocated, that's living here in Florida, and very conservative credentials. Side by side, there was no contest there. But the rhinos were intoxicated, inebriated by the Marco Rubio ether. And the rest of the nation, they just heard Rubio's compelling speeches and only have a surface knowledge of his positions, which are not conservative in many ways. So what's not to love? They put the guy up and he's sending chills up and down their spines like Obama would send chills up and down the leg of Chris Matthews and the Democrats without getting into the substance. So that's what we have in Marco Rubio. So you can count on that. It needs to be dealt with right now. And the only way that this can be stopped is if there was a national rule at the RNC level that every state, all 50 states, must have a runoff election if the number one vote getter, so to speak, does not get a majority of the votes. If they required at least a 51% or a 50.25% majority, we never, in order to get the nomination, they run off between two, the top two vote getters. We never would have had Mitt Romney as a candidate. We never would have had John McCain. We never would have had George W. Bush. We never would have had Bob Dole. We never would have had Gerald Ford as our nominee. These people are our nominees, and Marco Rubio will be our nominee if we allow our party to continue to be hijacked. Not that it matters. I mean, the party's essentially an empty shell. It's dead for all intents and purposes. They're useful idiots. But if we just want to give it the old college try and actually try to rescue our party and our country, we need to know. We need to deal with reality right now. What's going on? This charade with Jeb Bush thinking about coming in the race. It's purely to deflect the truth and criticism and the meticulous due diligence that should be done on Marco Rubio. And if it was, Rand Paul would win hands down. Now, there are some problems with Marco Rubio that the enchanted rhinos in our party and the non-thinking, non-due diligence conducting Republicans, there are some problems that they're not recognizing, because right now they are quite captivated by his appearance, just like they were Mitt Romney's. Granted, Marco Rubio is an attractive individual. I mean, I'm sure many women find him attractive and good looking and well spoken and makes a compelling, inspiring speech. But you have to think that, 4 years away from the election, and I noticed that Senator Rubio, over the past year, I've noticed that his hairline is receding, and he's pretty young, but he's at the beginning stages here in his early 40s of potentially rapid hair loss. And his ears are fairly large. So if you think 3 or 4 years from now, when the 2016 general election takes place, I don't know who the Democrat nominee will be. I mean, it might still be Obama, very well, the would-be tyrant, or the actual tyrant at that stage. But Rubio will lose a lot of hair between now and the next election. So he might be less attractive at that point to the, especially when you're looking at a potential candidate for the general election. He might be half bald by then, and his ears, when you hit your 40s, your ears continue to grow in your nose. So, we could be looking at a much different Marco Rubio than what we have now. So that's something that the GOP establishment should really look at and consider, because the only alternative is, Rubio could go with hair plugs, but then, we might see the Biden comparisons. And if Biden actually runs for president, we've got 2 hair plug candidates. And this could be a problem. I'm just trying to appeal to I know it might sound preposterous, but these are the type of people that we're dealing with. That's why we had Romney. Romney made no sense on paper. There was nothing conservative about the guy in his history. He never did a damn thing that was conservative in his career as governor. In fact, he was almost as liberal as Obama. If you look at some of his deals, most people don't know about Wheels for Welfare, his creation to give cars away as welfare benefits and pay their insurance and pay for their repairs and even give them free AAA. Most people never heard about that because the GOP rhino establishment and Fox News didn't find that newsworthy, because they were too enchanted by Romney's sonorous voice and beautiful hair. So this kind of analysis that I'm offering, although it might be somewhat unorthodox, I'm really trying to appeal to the senses of those rhino establishments. Think about this, people. I know how handsome Rubio is, but think about how big his ears might be by 2016. Think about the baldness, or worse yet, the hair plugs. So if I can't appeal to your reason through discussing policy and substance, at least think about how difficult a sell that might be to the general electorate once these primaries are over. Thank you for joining me. I'm Scott.